Hi guys, it's Sarah. I'm back today with a new guest. I'm so excited to learn more about Sabrina Stewart. Sabrina is with the Pace Morby community and she is a top tier TC. And that's about as far as I know about Sabrina. Other than her reputation precedes her, lots of people have mentioned her name, which is why I wanted to bring her onto the show to hear her story and just learn some nuggets from her. So Sabrina, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Sarah.
Of course. So, Sabrina, how did you find yourself joining the Pace Morby community? Have you always been involved in real estate, or can you just like take us back a little ways?
Yeah, not been involved in real estate. Real estate's always kind of one of those things that I've thought, oh, that would be fun. I should do that. But I had no idea about real estate investing at all until 2022. And I started with Women's Real Estate Investing Network.
Nice.
And I met a lot of really great people in Reen. And so one of them introduced me to Pace Morby actually through the Elephant Challenge. She's like, oh, you got to listen to Pace. We got to do this Elephant Challenge together. So I got in there and listened to him and I was really impressed.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So joined up with the Sub 2 group in January of 2023. So
Okay, nice.
almost 2 years now. And then tried my hand at wholesaling. Not for me. But I don't know how much you know about Pace, but he says pick an avatar, stick with it for 6 weeks, see how it goes. And I did that. I did direct to seller. I switched to direct to agent just before they opened up the TC community. And I was like, that's what I really want to do. Because that was the
Okay.
original avatar I looked at, but I thought, I don't even know how to get there. Right.
Right. Right. Okay. So basically, so in your mind, SubTube was the place to start to get the most education about the real estate industry. And then you thought you would switch over to being a TC. That was your train of thought.
That was my train of thought was, yeah, I would learn everything there was to know about creative
Yeah.
and then move into something like a TC, but I wasn't sure where that was because ultimately I'm a helper, right? So I love to help people, right? So whether I am, doing that through acquisitions or through TCing or whatever I'm doing it through, it's as long as I feel like I'm helping people. So
I
I'm
love
doing a lot of,
that.
I'm just finding that out about myself, to be honest. But
I love that. That actually makes a lot of sense now why I've heard your name so many times then, because being somebody that helps people, people are grateful to you and they keep bringing up your name as a resource.
that's
So
nice.
it's working. That's great. So then what kind of background were you in before joining that women's real estate group?
Well, actually, I was running my first business, which was a STEM education center where we taught robotics and coding and science to
Wow.
kindergarten to 12th grade. So we did tutoring and camps and after school programs. It was a big endeavor for me to just jump into. I was like, okay, I want to open my own business.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you now, if I knew about real estate investing then, I would have gone that direction, not the STEM education.
Okay.
But we had a lot of fun with it. And
That's so
we,
cool.
we did it for 5 years and then it didn't take off. It
Yeah.
was during COVID. You know,
Yeah.
but we were able to stay open, which I was really proud of. I was able to pivot and change the way that we did things,
Yeah.
and but
Good for
it
you.
ultimately I had to
Good.
move on.
Yeah, good for you that you took a leap of faith and then one of the worst things in our history happened and you were able to sustain the business through that. That says a lot. And then your pivot is probably a really smart one because now in real estate you can do this from anywhere and you don't have to be in person necessarily. So now, if we have another big pandemic in the future, you'll be set.
Right?
Yeah.
No, very true. And I wanted to work remotely. I have grandchildren on the other side of the mountains. 4 hours away from me, and I want to be able to go there. I want to be able to travel and work from anywhere, and I've been
Yeah.
able to do that with TCing, and it makes me happy.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, so perfect. That's a example of something I would love for you to share with people. So somebody watching this that maybe would like to become a TC, can you speak to the lifestyle of it? What's it like as far as the traveling and working while you're traveling, and then also being solo versus being on a team? Just yeah, anything you could say about that.
Okay. Well, I've done both solo and working on a team. So started out solo with my own business. Like I had already started a network, in Sub 2 prior
Yeah.
to your TC starting up. So that helped a little bit. I was already kind of in there. And I understood the creative side of things, which was helpful. So, but as far as TCing, you can do it, really you can do it from anywhere, right? So I have a laptop. Just take the laptop. I can do it from anywhere. I say the biggest thing for me is that when I change time zones, I've got to remember I'm in different time zones. But
Yeah.
since I work nationally anyway, I'm always have to keep track of who's in what time zone anyway. So it's just really interesting. Like when I spent a couple weeks on the East Coast recently, and I was actually so far ahead of where I started to really understand
Yeah.
while people think about the fact that I'm 3 hours behind them.
Right. Right. Because your half of your day is over and you're still waiting on them to wake up.
Right, right.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
cool. That's good. You got that perspective.
right. And then I just recently created a new business with a couple other top tier TCs, and we've all been in it almost since the beginning. I think they started in September and I started in July when it first started up, but
Nice.
almost, and we're all in sub two. So it's really awesome that we have been able to join forces.
Yeah.
And our goal is to help the people coming out of top tier TC certified TCs that aren't sure where to go next.
Yeah.
I used to do a shadowing program with my old business and put a stop to it when I started building up this new business. But now we're going to be starting that up again beginning of next year.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and we can bring in TCs to it's almost like an internship if they want it to be, or
Yeah.
they can grow with the company depending on what they want to do. But we bring them in as assistants to start.
Good for you. So you've always been like an entrepreneurial minded person. You're not just doing things solo. You start businesses and then grow them.
Yeah. And, I started my business, my first TC business, just myself. And I found out it was just really lonely. You know, I love working from home. I love being able to travel,
Yeah.
but I don't have a team to talk to. And so
Yeah.
that's why I really started the JV. I started a JV program and I started a shadowing program because then I can be working with other TCs and helping them out. And see, that's where I really feel like my best value is given is when I can help them
Yeah.
with what they're working on.
So what does that look like in a real day? You're working on your own files that you've maybe assigned to yourself or just simply, acquired. And then do you guys have like regular meetup times where you get on Zoom as a team and just catch each other up on the status of everything?
We do. We do a daily 15-minute check-in, actually, a huddle with the
Nice.
team. And so that gives us a chance for any assistants to ask questions because we're kind of communicating with them during the day anyway, right? Through as things come up. But it gives that kind of just a quick check-in to say, hey, this is what's happening or this is what's changed. And then sometimes it's go a little longer and we do a little trainings with that as well. So,
Okay. Nice.
and we're just getting started. So we are building this like, I feel like there's still so much we're going to be adding. You know what I mean? It's going to grow.
It's so exciting. No, I can taste it almost. Like I can see your enthusiasm and that you have like a really big vision for this coming up in 2025. I'm so excited for you. And you have some really great team members too. I haven't personally met, is it Emma?
Emma Duncan,
Yeah, I haven't met her yet. But I think the other one on your team is Tiffany, right?
Tiffany Chow. I think you interviewed her.
Yeah, she was my first interview with the Pace Morby community, and I love that girl so much.
She was awesome.
She
Yeah.
is. She's so smart. She's so friendly and helpful, and just literally just seems to want to help. And so, what a perfect person to add to your team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think so too.
I love it. And so, in the future, you're thinking it's going to grow a lot bigger.
I do. I do. We
Good.
we have plans to grow already. So we're looking at, you know, futuristic, the 5-year plan kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, good, good. Okay. So for people watching this that maybe want to become a TC, here's a beautiful connection. That you can once you get certified and get into the Pace Morby community, remember Sabrina Stewart's name. And what do you have a company name for your team, right?
We're called the TC Squad.
That's right. Okay, so look up the TC squad once you join the community. And I can speak firsthand. The people that I have already met have been amazing. This really, really is special for newbies and seasoned alike. The people that are attracted to this community are amazing. And the vibe that I feel being here as opposed to the, traditional corporate world is just night and day. It's a really great place.
It's so true. It's such a welcoming place.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, we're both happy that we found ourselves here, it sounds like.
Yes.
So let's see. Can you talk to the difficulty level for somebody that's thinking about doing this? I mean, getting certified itself probably, at least in my opinion, wasn't too difficult, but starting to learn the role and learn all the different transaction types, what's your take on that as far as the difficulty level and how a person would go about it?
Well, I usually advise that if they don't know anything about creative, that they pick one and just kind of study it. And sometimes that happens because you meet somebody who's working on a sub two deal or a seller finance deal or something like that, right? So you meet someone
Hmm.
who's working on something specific
Yeah.
and you just dig into that specific kind of deal, kind of transaction and learn what you can. The thing about being a transaction coordinator that you learn really quickly is that every deal is different. Even if you have 5 sub 2 deals, every one of those sub 2 deals are different in some way.
Oh, okay.
You have your basic outline, but there's going to be changes. So you can't fear the fact that you're not going to know everything. Every time I'm a year and a half in and I still run into things where I'm like, wow, I can't believe I haven't run into this before. Right. And I have to get help and figure out how to handle it. You know,
Gotcha. Okay.
things come up.
That's actually very reassuring for a new person to hear that it's not just memorize all the steps for each transaction or the outline, but there's always going to be slight tweaks and differences. It's like a unique recipe for each one. And that it's okay to not know, and that as part of a community, you can always have somebody to reach out to that has done that type of transaction before.
And that's the thing to remember is that's what's awesome about this community, right? You're not on your own, right?
Yeah.
You are, if you can't find it in the Zoom vault or looking in the Facebook group, you can call someone. You can show
Yeah.
up at a Zoom and ask a question. You always have one of our main values is to remember that it is we, not me,
Oh, I
right?
love that.
And that goes for and really the whole Pace Morby community is like that. All his communities are like that.
Yeah.
They're you rely on each other. Even when you're marketing as a TC in the beginning and you're talking to people, you may not have experienced certain things, but you have heard people talk about certain things, right? So
True.
I have used Molly's stories in the beginning when I was starting out.
Yeah.
This is what Molly says.
That's
Molly's
very
told,
smart.
right? This is what's happened with Pace and Molly, this deal with Pace and Molly in Florida. This is
Yeah.
what, and being able to use those and
Reference.
they know then that you're part of that team.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. Great advice. Yeah. What about the day in the life of and like the week in the life of? Could you describe maybe like let's say there's a mom out there that wants to supplement the family income, but she's a mom and she's got kids at home. What would her schedule maybe look like and how many hours per week? How would she work it?
Well, I think that you could do just about anything. I mean, you can choose. So, for instance, if you know what hours you're available, even you could do this with a W 2. I know people that are doing it with a W 2. You can figure out what hours you're available. And perhaps, for instance, if you are on the East Coast and you have hours that wouldn't really coordinate with an East Coast title company, then maybe you need to be working files on the West Coast, right? Maybe you use different time zones or
Good
something like
point. Yeah.
there's things to think about is just figure out where you are available. A lot of this is done by email and electronically. So if you have the capacity to just answer an email when it's needed, that's awesome. If you are only available for that 1 hour a day, my thing is that if you have to call a title company, which happens, you have to call them, you have to make contact with a seller, you just have to be able to have time to do that. So,
Okay.
but there's not a whole lot of that happens, right? You could do a lot of this off hours.
Okay.
Every once in a while you get into these urgent things, but what I learned from my very first file was not everything is an emergency. I felt like, we got to go, go, go. I got the title report now. I got to take care of this. Well, really everyone else is relaxed, right? I've got time to read through it and figure out what
Yeah.
everything is. And so I put that urgency on myself,
Hmm.
but you can, because there are occasions that we run into emergencies where you have to
Sure.
drop everything and do that.
Okay.
And that's why you can always team up, too, right? We have 2 assistants right now, and one of them has 3 kids at home, and so she works around that, and
That's
she homeschools.
awesome.
So
That's wonderful.
you learn to work around.
What about, I think you kind of answered that when you said not everything is like super, super urgent. So does that mean that a person wouldn't have to feel like they have to go and refresh their email like every 5 minutes to see if something came in throughout their day? Like they don't have to feel like they're on call necessarily. They can just block out their schedule and be available during those times, and everything should work out okay.
It should be fine. Of course, there's going to be that time when you have somebody panicking and you need to, like last night I had to, talk one of my clients, down, but it was okay.
Step away from the ledge. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So that's the exception to the rule, but that's really good to know. So then could a person, in your opinion, could a person work, let's say 10 hours a week and make, I don't, how many files would you say a person could do in like 10 hours a week?
That's a good question. It depends on the type of file.
True.
I don't know. I don't know that I know the answer.
Okay.
At 10 hours a week, I would probably say,
So 2 hours a day, basically.
yeah. I mean, honestly, there's some files that you're not touching in a day. I mean, you touch it, you look at it, make sure you don't need to do anything, but then you move on. So you could
Okay.
have 10 files and work them for 3 hours in a day, probably.
Okay.
But, but then there's going to be the ones that you have a lot of things going on and you have a full
Okay.
day of calling or emailing.
Yeah. So that's hard to quantify then. It's hard to
It
call.
is,
Okay.
it is for me. And it's probably because I've just never really tracked that. We were
Yeah.
just talking yesterday about how we're going to start tracking our KPIs. I've always tracked things differently. People will ask me questions like, how many files do you do in a month?
Mm.
And I've never really tracked that as a single, as just doing it on my own.
Yeah.
What I was always worried about was how many files do I have at once, right? Because I knew where my cap was and
Yeah.
how much I wanted to be doing.
Gotcha.
And so I would keep track of that as opposed to, like, where do I need to bring in help
Yeah.
so that I
Yeah.
don't have to do more than 10 files myself,
Okay.
right? That kind of thing. Just because I don't want to work full time doing,
Yeah.
things.
And I think that's kind of where I'm getting at with my question. I'm trying to envision for somebody that wants to work part-time, maybe 20 hours a week. I don't know. But like, how many files should they aim for? I guess is what I'm trying to get at. And then what would potentially, like a range, what would that equate to so that somebody would know if it was worth it for them to pay the course fee and to get in to this as, instead of going and getting a part-time job.
Right. Right. So I am unsure what the course fee is exactly right now.
Okay.
But I would say that if you're doing this on your own and you're charging $1,000 per file, you're going to pay for that course fee, and when you do 5 files, or I don't know if it's 5,000, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
The fees getting into this are very minimal as far as business side, right? I mean, you got to pay the mentor fee to get certified. There's ways to make the business side of it fairly inexpensive, right?
Okay.
You can use an accounting program that's free, like Wave. You can use Stripe for invoicing and collecting money, and they only charge you when you get paid. So that's
Yeah.
pretty good. You can do something like Doc Hub, which is like $10 a month for signing.
Okay.
Really, those are the essentials right there. You don't have
Okay.
to pay for a website. You don't have to pay for these other things unless you want to.
Okay, got it. And then on average, I mean, I know everybody's different, but like somebody comes in, they're certified. Is one of the better ways for them to start getting clients or files of their own to join a team? Or what would be your suggestion there?
That really depends on their personality. I always like to ask people, what's your end goal? I mean, do you want to own your own business? Because some people don't. Some people want to just do this part-time with a team.
Yeah,
They don't want to own their own business.
true.
And then it's really up to what they're, like how much networking are they doing? It takes a while to get your first file if you don't know anybody who's
Mm-hmm.
in investing, right? Or in real estate.
Sure.
So it can take a little while. I mean, you could be spending 7, 8 months and
Yeah.
just get your first file if you're just starting to get to know people, right?
Yeah.
Because it does take networking. Some people don't have the personality to go out there and network. They don't want to have to bring files.
Yeah.
I suggest for people who are networking or know people in communities and are talking to people that they could either join a team, for a small amount of time or do some kind of an internship or shadowing program or something that just gives them an idea of what's going on while they're networking. The
Yeah.
network has to start immediately. It's really important. And then the thing is that if they want to build their own business, they probably want to just get a file and JV with somebody. Bring in someone that'll help you, right?
Love it.
Or they can just, like I said, join a team for a short amount of time.
Okay,
Some
gotcha.
other people just want to be on a team.
Okay,
They want that team environment. They don't want to have to get their own systems. They don't want to have to put any of that together.
that
They don't
makes
want to have to
sense.
market. They don't want to have to meet people. Bring the people to meet.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. So then in your opinion, since you have a team, what would a new person be able to offer your team? You know, they're new. So what's in it for you?
Well, they save us time. We give them tasks that they can do to start, and they can start viewing everything. They see all the emails and all the paperwork, and we give them small tasks out of that they're going to be super capable of doing, that makes, kind of builds them up, and then they're ready to move on and learn something new and do another task, right? So we can add to that.
So you can basically just break it down into chunks and add
Exactly.
to. Okay. Well, that's exciting. Like that, I think that's going to give a lot of people some hope that they don't have to go this alone, and there's somebody that's willing, like you, willing to help somebody else out like that. That's really cool.
Good.
And then the more people you have saving your time, the more that you could focus on what you're best at, which is growing your business.
Yes. Yes.
I love it.
Growing businesses.
I love it. No, that's great. Well, it sounds like an amazing opportunity. And is there anything that I haven't asked that maybe you just, had in the back of your mind that you wanted to share as well about it?
Not that I can think of, other than I do love to connect with all the new TCs and anyone in the Pace Morby communities, or whoever's interested in creative. I love to talk creative. So I do a lot of, I guess what they probably call deal engineering with people, just because I love to help put the deals together. So
Nice. You're a strategizer. That's good.
so call me.
Yeah. Okay, good. So what is the best way for people to reach out to you?
Actually, texting me at my business phone is the best way to get me. And so I can give that number.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'll put it up on the screen after
It's 206-627-0547. And texting would get straight to me, and then we can decide if we need to jump on a call, which is what I usually like to do, because texting back and forth doesn't really work for me. I need to ask lots of questions.
Yes, yes, and get a feel for the person and their energy and just all the stuff. So, no, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for painting a picture for people on what your journey was like and what maybe they could also come in and do. And yeah, I think this has been super helpful. And there's going to be a lot of people that are, glad that they found this interview and now have somebody that they can reach out to. All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye.